Welcome back to Really Legal. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman. Right as court was ending for the day and Judge Mershon was sending people home, the jury announced that they had a verdict. I'll give you the good, the bad, and what's next. So clearly, Donald Trump is now a convicted felon 34 times over, period. The Republican nominee is now a convicted felon. 34 counts, all 34 he was found guilty. Right at the end of the day today, so let's go back for just a second. Right at the end of the day, the Judge Mershon was about to send everybody home at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. He got a note from the jury saying they have a verdict. He held everybody back. We want to hear from them. They have to fill out a jury form for all 34 counts. They have to fill it out, so that takes a little time. And remember, in a criminal trial, unlike what some people might be saying, not orange people necessarily, but yes, it has to be unanimous in a criminal trial like this in New York, and it was unanimous. So they came back, they said, you're guilty on all 34 counts. They read it out one at a time. Soon as I heard that one of the voucher counts was guilty, that's how I knew it was going to be all 34. I was pretty sure it was going to be the 11 counts that related to the checks that he personally signed. I wasn't feeling strongly that it was going to be all 34, but it's all 34. So what happens now? They read the jury verdict. Hang on, I'm going to hold that thought on what happens now. We're going to get to that. They read the jury verdict then, and this is very normal. So anybody who's going to tell you otherwise, or if you try and blow this up, you're off base. Defense attorney Todd Blanche asked for what's called a poll of the jurors, where Judge Mershon then turned to each juror, juror number one, and he didn't have to read all 34 counts because it was a straight line on the ballot, right? It's like voting all Democrat. It's just a straight line. I vote all Democrat. Juror number one, what was your verdict? Guilty. Juror number two, what was your verdict? Guilty. Apparently, Donald Trump was scowling and looking at them. This is according to reporting I just heard. As they were reading the verdict, the jurors were still and stony-faced and all business, according to the reports from inside the courtroom. So all 12 confirmed that they voted guilty on all 34 counts. Now, and then Trump went outside and spewed absolute garbage. The guy, this is the thing that I find really disgusting in politics in recent years, maybe since 2015 for sure, but is this idea that under oath, they have to tell the truth. So, for example, Jenna Ellis, it was just reported the state bar of the state of Colorado, suspended her law license for 3 years. She is not allowed to practice law under her Colorado law license for the next 3 years. And contrast that to, for example, my pinned tweet where I called her a liar on Fox News a couple weeks before the election in 2020. These people are so comfortable openly and abjectly lying, just complete falsehoods, absolutely no connection with reality. Donald Trump rigged. How is this rigged? This is the normal American justice system that you just went through. Oh, it was in a district that had 85% Democrats, and that means nothing because the jurors are everybody had a chance to ask the jurors questions, throw out jurors. Defense counsel had a chance to throw out jurors. It's not rigged. That's a normal process. The defense could have, we went through that in one of my earlier videos. You can go back and watch that. How you pick jurors in voir dire and the kinds of strikes that you get to get rid of a juror without cause. They didn't even use all of theirs, by the way. The defense never used all of theirs. So the idea that there's any problem with the way that this was done is just absolute balderdash garbage. However, what does happen next? So we know that the sentencing hearing is going to be on July 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern time in Judge Mershon's courtroom. But what we really know is going to happen, and Trump's defense counsel really did do their job in this. They made all the right objections, with a few exceptions, but they made many, many objections. They are setting this thing up for appeal, and it's not going to get resolved quickly. He's not going to go to jail right away. He's going to be free, and he's going to be out there just spewing garbage lies. By the way, whenever, again, you hear people on the right say, oh, we're not allowed to speak, Trump said he was going to testify. Trump didn't testify in his own defense. Trump goes outside the courtroom and says, oh, everything's rigged. They have the facts all wrong. Yeah, you could have testified in your own defense. That's not something that's appealable. You had the right to defend yourself, and you chose not to. Now, granted, his lawyers didn't want him to testify because we all know, based on his track record, that he is an extensive liar. He's a terrific serial liar. And there's so much evidence to support that. So, guilty, sentencing on July 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, guilty on all 34 counts. Remember, these counts, there's no minimum sentence, and the maximum sentence is 4 years in jail in New York. And as I understand, now I don't practice law in New York, but as I understand these charges, this would be concurrent, meaning he's not going to get 34 times 4, 136 years in jail. He's going to get 4 years maximum. If I was a betting man, I'm not. If he gets jail, it's at tops 30 days. I just don't see how he gets more than that and how it withstands appeal. He's a first-time offender. Remember, when I say first-time offender, I don't mean we don't think he maybe has committed a lot of crimes in his life. It means this is the first time he's been convicted by a court of law, by a jury of his peers, the normal American judicial system. This was actually how it's supposed to work. Judge Merchan had good control of his courtroom. The attorneys, each side won a little bit, each side lost a little bit, in their arguments with the judge. The jurors attentively listened. They took their notes. They asked the right questions when they were deliberating. And that's it. So what's the good? Donald Trump, if you're not a Trump fan, Donald Trump, guilty. 34 counts, felony. He is now a convicted felon. And if I recall correctly, the state of Florida doesn't make it easy for convicted felons to vote after they've served their time. Am I wrong in that? I seem to remember a whole series of NPR reports on the fact that, and lawsuits, by the way, the fact that Florida has this thing to allow felonies, convicted felons to vote again, but they have to fulfill all of their obligations first. Donald Trump, a lifetime New Yorker, by the way, anytime he tries to claim unfairness in New York City, he's a lifer in New York. He only recently changed his residence to Florida. Anyway, so the good is the system worked. The system worked as intended, whether he had been found not guilty, whether he had been acquitted, whether there was a hung jury and a mistrial, whether he was guilty, the system worked as it is intended for all Americans and any who are alleged to have committed a crime, and in this case, now a convicted felon. So what's the bad? Bad is he's not going to jail right away. This is going to get hung up in appeals courts. And by the way it works is in New York, you have your district court, which they call the Supreme Court. Then they have an appeals court. And I forget off the top of my head what they call their Supreme Court. It's not a Supreme Court. Whatever. The highest court in the state of New York, because they name there is different than every other state. Then they'll hear the appeal. And then Donald Trump, if the New York State highest court does not rule in his favor, he can appeal to the United States Supreme Court. And that's where I'm concerned, just bluntly. In light of everything that's been happening, I am concerned that if he appeals to the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, they will take the case and they'll overturn it. That's my fear. So that's the bad. I really do think that that's the bad. So what's next? He's going to begin filing appeals quickly. He has another 3-day court hearing in Florida on that case with the records that he took and kept and lied about at Mar-a-Lago. And the FBI actually had to go, by the way, coordinated with Secret Service before going in to retrieve all of these secret, including all the way up to top secret, compartmentalized according to the court filings as I understand them. That's happening in June. I don't have a lot of faith that that's going to happen, that much is going to happen. And then we have the sentencing hearing on July 11th at 10 a.m. So I want to know in your comments below, if you're an anti-Trumper, how are you celebrating? If you're celebrating. And if you're butthurt about it because you're a pro-Trumper, or somehow you think, as Trump claimed, a Soros-funded DA. I don't even know what that means, by the way. You mean not the people of New York pay DA Alvin Bragg's salary? George Soros does? What the hell is that garbage anyway that he keeps repeating? I want to hear your comments down below and read them because you know how much I love them. Please share this video. It's the most important thing you can do after you subscribe and join Really American. Share the video far and wide. This is important stuff. Click the like button, smash that subscribe button. Talk to you next time. I'm attorney Ethan Bearman, Really Legal, on the Really American Network.